Got Stellarium all booted up.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
Shapes and
boy.
praise, ladies and jellyfish. Welcome to the Slick Dissident live artistic expression. This evening, I have my lovely friend PK with me,
What up,
bringing the
y'all?
bringing the faith, bringing the strength, bringing the reticence. So, PK and I have been weaving on the back channels of the back channels and really honing in on some fine nuance to the Enneagram system that I love to share. And I love PK so much. He sharpens my iron like none other. This last Saturday, I did a run through over on the roundtable about the Enneagram with personality types and their shadow aspects. And I
You
like to
know,
go ahead.
Gabe, we
Yeah.
can we can wait a second and while people trickle in here.
Oh, that's a
So
good point.
so this did work. That's good news. Dude, you guys should have seen us fucking Stooge 1 and Stooge 2. Like, man. Because I know a thing or two about computers, but man, live streaming is not my forte. So,
Yeah,
um,
we had plenty of tuck pixies. We even had the camera was going out for about an hour, so I've got a backup camera. Wish me luck on that.
I'm gonna pop this in some telegrams
Okay.
and see if we get some people here.
Yeah, there's a
Let's
part of me
see.
that almost wants to play our conversations, but maybe when we're more tech savvy, we can bring our back channel
Ooh,
conversations to the public side.
yeah, we haven't even tested that one. What's up, McMac?
Here we
Good to
go.
see you,
Now
my man.
I can see comments now too. Micmac's in the house. Big ups, Micmac. Yeah, I don't know if people noticed, but there was no Interverse last night. And I thought I was going to slide in and steal the Garton spot, but I had to wrestle with some technology, so that took about 24 hours. But we are up and running now.
All right,
My
I threw
Cherie,
this.
my Cherie, thank you so much for your support and your encouragement with Joe Roop. That show was fun. That show was fun. If anybody missed it, go check out on the Interverse last week. We had Joe Roop on, and that guy's got the best voice in the business. So yeah, thank you, my Cherie, for encouraging our connection. I'm glad that
Yeah,
came to
I
fruition.
like Roop stuff. I go and listen to his he's been reading a bunch of, he's all into like that OBE stuff. And he reads like he found some wild stuff, like this old book from, I want to say maybe pre-Monroe or something, or like, I don't know if it was pre-Monroe, but it sure seemed like it. And Monroe, right, with the Monroe Institute and all of that, like the scientific approach to the OBE.
Yes.
But but yeah, I've been listening to his stuff, man. He's been reading and doing commentary on over there at the Lighting the Void channel.
You know, the Monroe Institute is signified in the Rider Waite deck. Um, in their strength card. I don't see it as much in this strength card, but in the Rider Waite deck, there's a mountain in the background, uh, a mound, uh, and I think that is Montreal because Montreal on the territories map is exactly over the nose of uh, the end of the United States map. So I see Montreal signified by the mountain in the strength card, which is very near the Monroe Institute, as I understand, and a lot of the
Huh.
psychic driving in that section of the country.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, man. Well, we
Eh,
got about 20 people here, so
oh heck yeah,
thanks
very nice.
everyone for joining. It took me and Gabe a hot minute to uh to get this started, but man, they made it kind of easy, it looks like. Just click a couple buttons. Don't click the wrong ones, and you're good.
One more thing before we weave too far, because I don't know when my next videos will be. I got a letter from Stacy. Stacy, thank you for this letter. Let's see. Bring it in real big. A bunch of goddesses in the field, approximately 7 of them, reaching for the heavens. Maybe there's, yeah, about 7. Very beautiful. And Fiddlehead Ferns. I can't believe she knows how much I love Fiddlehead Ferns.
Man,
A
that's
very
beautiful.
kind card. Yeah. Thank you, Stacy, very much. So, shall I set us up for the Enneagram part first, and then we'll do Stellarium to the end?
Yeah, I think that's a good plan of approach.
All right. So yes, on Saturday on the roundtable, I did a run through on the Enneagram, and I'm getting faster and faster, more compact, more concise with my delivery, but I'm pretty sure I dropped the infernal names of the vices, of which there are 7 that I am absolutely sure of that are standardized. Um, and
7?
PK, do you remember
Yeah.
the 7 deadly sins? Do you remember where you were able to confirm the sloth is Belphegor, Satan is wrath?
So, I think it all started with the oldest that they say, or, is in the mainstream history, whatever, is like this dictionary of infernals, but it's like a French. So it's like
Yeah,
Dictionnaire de something. And
Inferniales.
yeah, and the only one that I would kind of not agree with, or like that we could do better. It's not really a matter of agreeing and disagreeing, right? It's all kind of whatever. Anyway, um is the Satan one, from on that list, because
Okay,
it's Satan's just it seems just like a very broad thing, right? When you're talking about Lucifer, you're talking about, you know, Belfador or Belphegor, uh, Asmodeus, Belial. These guys, these demons have seemingly more specific, functions, ins and outs about them than like Satan, this just big, you know,
catch all.
catch all. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So this is one of my soapboxes that I only briefly get on occasionally, and that is that I see the Satan broad brushing as inaccurate. I think it's very inaccurate, because I attribute Satan to wrath. Look at this! Look at this
What up,
champion!
Chance?
Big love chance. Hope you're getting over your Barona virus. Not the
He got the Bartona virus.
Bartona. Yeah, big love chance. Big respect.
I hope you're feeling better, man.
Yeah, so I hear a lot of people talking about Satan. I hear all styles of Satan. You got the rock and roller Satanists, you got the keyboard Satanists, you got you got the butt plug Satanists over here. They come in all flavors. Uh, but what kind of gets me is there is a willful blindness to the other infernals, of which we all partake at various times in your life, various situations. All of the other vices have perfectly scary names. Some of them are scarier than the word Satan. In fact, they're kind of cheapening the word Satan. Right now, I think we're in a satanic panic of mass proportions. So that blind spot is the aspect that there are many other vices with infernal names that if you just call everything Satan, what I find militantly ironic is that by casting wrath or anger or uh, disgust, even upon Satan, that's actually his game. That's food. You're laying a bounty for the satanic spirit when you are wrathful at that one single egregore. Nice. Big ups. So I consider Satan, and in the infernal definitions, I've uh, seen it correspondent with wrath or rage,
which would be number one, right? The anger.
which is number one. And so what I use these terms as metaphors to try to describe the spiritual um, snare, the trap of it. And a term that I use is a tar baby. And a tar baby is something that even by just merely by engaging it, you get caught up into it, and it's rubber, or your rubber and its glue, and whatever you say gets stuck onto you. So this aspect of channeling wrath at the name wrath is fueling wrath with exactly what it wants. And so it is the cheapest of all of these energies to get caught up on. And in fact, it takes a lot of savvy to identify the other infernal inevitabilities of the human experience that have other names that are equal in rank to the one catch all that everybody gets caught up in. So I also use the metaphor of a booger that won't flick off your own finger. Once you start hating on Satan or even
Uh-huh.
engaging with it, you're automatically caught up in a fear spiral. So yeah, that's kind of some of the feedback I had. But uh, PK was really getting down about fear as well. Can you remind us about your path on that, PK? Like, why was it about the number 6?
Yeah, so I'm just starting to dip my toes in Enneagram stuff. I've kind of put it off as far as uh kind of knowing the ins and outs of it, and but what Gabe does, it helps to know the personality types. And I also like to know the history of stuff and, like, where did all this come from, because I'm not one to much just like to accept the dogma of it. You know what I mean? So it's like one thing if someone makes a list and it's like, oh, this is that and that's that. And it's like, okay, but why? Where, how did you get to that? So, long story short, it came from, it was post Gurdjieff. Is that how you understand it too?
Yes, I think something I could be more nuanced about is there are quite a few other handlers of the Enneagram between us and Gurdjieff.
Yeah.
Oscar Ochazo and that other guy. I I Itchin I forget his name already. Um, but one of those characters in particular is let me think, Don Richard. I'm pretty sure he has some very heavy Jesuit uh, heraldry along his in his guilds. We'll say he has some allegiances, some number 6 affiliations to the Loyalists. And that is fascinating. I asked PK when we found out which one of the people who have handled the Enneagram, which one of them was the hardcore Jesuit. And I realized it's the one that gave me this book, the one that I based a lot of the research on. And so
That guy.
it's this guy. I said, PK, does this make me a sleeper cell crypto Jesuit? But I guess my hair saves me from
Yeah, I said no
affiliation.
because he's got long hair. So I think he's safe, right? I think he's safe. Um, so let me show this, and I'm just gonna share screen. So this here, so the 6, Gabe, what is the, like, positive? What do you call the 6? The loyalist?
You got it. The
Okay.
loyalist with generally a shadow of fear. And fear did not have an infernal name. It was not on the infernal
Right.
list.
Right. So my thing was that fear was such a broad term, and that all of these negative aspects, deadly sins, whatever, you could kind of trace back to fear in one way or another. So for me, it was kind of weird that they were, you know, prescribing this fear slot to just number 6. And I was like, it seems like there's something better than that. So in this one, they have anxiety for 6. And I'm like, oh, we're getting down to it. Because from what I was getting at, the whole negative side of the 6 was that it was like a lack of self-confidence, a lack not only of self-confidence, but a lack in whatever you want to call that universal confidence, faith, right? Just the idea that the knowing that everything's going to work out, right? So it like lacks that, not only faith in yourself, but faith in like everything. So you're always skeptical, always doubting, you know. And this Enneagram thing, it's like everyone has parts of all this stuff, you know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting and not necessarily right to me that, you know, to lump people into these sort of categories, because we all, I guess, display it, you know, more than others. Sometimes it's overt, sometimes it's hidden, or, you know, so this could be like your inside self, or it could be like how you want others to perceive you, or how you think others perceive, you know, that's sort of stuff. But 6 here uh was anxiety. I was like, yeah, we're getting a lot closer. But I think what it really boils down to with everything I just said is doubt. Doubt was a great word uh instead of fear. It's way more nuanced, and so it's that doubt, like I said, not only in yourself but just in kind of life itself, right?
Yeah, man. I love that landing. I love that landing. And it made me kind of reassess in the light of these thoughts how what
This
I
one
was
has doubt.
what I was calling nice, nice. What I was calling infernal aspects, and that is to give them their biblical name, kind of more on the superstitious side, a little more sensational, not what the scientifically minded likes to hear, but they are synonymous because they share these attributes. But I'm realizing that to say infernal aspect, I think of it almost as a flame, a dark flame that casts the dark shadow, but on a spectrum of the different personalities. And so when we were saying fear as an aspect of number 6, I think we were actually referring to the shadowy fractal light that has these different shades of shadow for each of the other 8 aspects. And I love that you landed on doubt. Something that, we were playing with synonyms like PK. I love that you brought forward misgivings.
Misgivings, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
such a great word because of there's the lover's card is a number 6, but then there's the devil's card is like the kind of the antipode of the lover's card. I think of it as a marriage or a divorce, but that's misgivings are the last thing you want in your mind when you're making your wedding vow. Misgivings are like the worst thing to be coming up when you've already planned this wedding and you don't want any doubt. You want to cast the spell with complete uh, single-mindedness.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's something that I often, I describe the number 6 as single-minded. But there are so many things in this world where you better be single-minded or you're going to miss the target. And any shadow of doubt is a very unwelcome, disharmonious ingredient to add. Um, so we were thinking of the different types of doubt. We were thinking about skeptics. Skeptics are one kind of doubt, but then there's cynics, or
Yep,
another.
cynics.
and and I just love seeing that these.
So what does cynical mean? That's that everyone, you think everyone's out for their own, right? Selfish interest, right?
Well said. Yes, it's definitely. I think in the tarot deck, in the Rider Waite, or I'm sorry, in the Crowley Thoth deck, I think that is what's being conveyed through this deck because of Francois de la Rochefoucauld. Um, his writings are based on self love, and he was a proliferator of symposiums. In France, they would have Greek style ritualistic symposiums on the reg. They let the ladies in. They actually let the ladies into the symposiums in France. And so they would have these displays of philosophical prowess and wit and try to outdo one another. And so Francois de la Rochefoucauld was kind of he's a patriarch of psychology. And I see his aspect of his heraldry in this card. If you look at the family crest of the Rochefoucauld family crest, many different styles and time periods, you'll see that Dalmatian print,
Here,
and
let me
you'll
make you big.
nice. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, you'll notice the Dalmatian print of the Francois de la Rochefoucauld in all of his paintings. He's basically wearing this kind of a, you know, roughly. But then even aspects of the heraldry are kind of hyper sigil embedded into this card. Um, nice. What up, Polly? Big love, buddy. So Francois de la Rochefoucauld, he has a book that's very short, maybe 100 word or 100 pages, and he has a big thing about self-love, and the whole attitude that you come away with is cynical. It's cynical. It's not skeptical. It's not. I don't find it healthy. I find it very unhealthy. It takes it way too far in that self-love aspect. And so, but on the other hand, if I knew somebody who needed to have a dose of cynicism, just a dose of it, not to take it all the way, I might recommend they read that and hope that they don't go over the edge with it. Sometimes there are some people who might need a little peek at cynicism every once in a while,
Yeah, true that.
just to course correct. Um, but he is definitely beyond what I think of as healthy skepticism. I think he's way into that. Or I'm sorry, healthy cynicism. Listen to me, I'm screwing it up. Healthy skepticism is a real thing. I think that's the middle path. That's the ambivalence that we're talking about tonight. Is being ambivalent, staying centered, not getting caught up in antipathy or sympathy too much. So yeah, I think Francois de la Rochefoucauld is a little overreach into cynicism. And also another thing, cynic is rooted in the word for dog. It's rooted in the word for dog-like, um, canine. It, uh, Diogenes was surrounded by canines. Diogenes is the granddaddy cynic of all cynics, and he's up by Canis Venetici, where there are two dogs by a barrel that Diogenes lives in the barrel. I think the barrel is the Crator constellation. But cynic means dog, and what is really fun for me when I flex and contract the slick dissident enneagram, in the Greek pantheons, this is Apollo is the loyalist of the number 6, and Artemis is his sister, and she is the dog lass. She's got a thing for dogs. And so I'm even looking at her less in the light of fear, which in terms of an animal response, she cares for the underdogs and the outcasts, those who live beyond the hedge. And in all those aspects, I can see cynicism being very correspondent to Artemis. So for some reason, I know a lot of people who love Artemis on their path. And now I feel a little more comfortable saying Artemis represents doubt. Artemis represents skepticism and even cynicism a little. And that keeps people tuned in and they don't feel, their freedom of association is not triggered if I just use, these words other than fear. So, yeah, that's the weave. That's part of the weave.
Yeah, I like that. So you want to go through the 7 or the 9
Yeah, buddy.
demons or infernal spirits. What are we calling them?
Infernal spirits. Inferno evil.
The infernal evils. All right, so and then we got some different words using for these. But
Yeah,
so
man.
what you want to run through them
Sure.
real quick? So number 1, um and we could talk about, cuz I think 1 was the one that we were was 1 the Aramon one?
No, but 3. We were thinking about Ahriman for number 3.
Oh. Oh, I was thinking number 1 Apollyon.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So go for it. Number 1's wrath
Yep. Number
or
1 is
anger.
wrath. And a lesson that I've learned that is, again, in the spirit of nuance. If you see somebody who is wrathful, there's a knee jerk jump to conflate that as an outside observer with being hateful. And I think that wrath has a great purpose in this world. It deserves to be recognized for what it is, and it is not necessarily hateful. Uh, I actually, hate isn't on here. Uh, I might put it with lust if I had to put it with anything. Um, but the reason why anger is not hate, and why it's important for us not to be hubristic in our projections when we see somebody in anger, is that anger is very simply, I think, a demand for a higher standard. When a person is angry, and when you yourself need a higher standard to be honored, then you have a right to be angry. We know this. And in fact, they would love to snuff this one out. And the way they would snuff it out was from our First Amendment. You take away the First Amendment, and a lot of people are going to be angry. Your ability to speak, your ability to your freedom of association, your ability not to speak, all of these things. By taking and affecting these, you draw out the Satan in people. Um, and this was one that you said would make a good Apollyon, which is not how I corresponded in the Greek pantheon, uh, because people put Apollyon with Apollo, and I think that might be a jump, that because I have Apollo soundly as the number 6, and I have Aries. Aries is in the number 1, but second to his sister Athena. Athena is also the number 1, and because the personality type is a perfectionist or a reformer, and that is the kind of person who demands a higher standard. And if they don't get that standard met, then instead of Athena, you'll be dealing with Ares. And his name means war, or sometimes I believe wrath as well.
So, yeah, I was thinking um Apollyon, which is also this
Yes.
Abaddon, um with destruction and stuff like that. This wiki page doesn't have too much in it, but Apollyon is mentioned in Revelation, where he's just like, hey, it's the Greek word for Abaddon. But yeah, it's whatever. I mean, I know there is a destructive side though of Apollo, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
he's associated with plagues, and so there is this like wrathful side to Apollo. Do you know much about that in myth?
Uh, oh, hold on. Yes. Um, in the Greek epics, Apollo is against, he is with Ares. They are on the same team, actually, but he's against Athena's side. Um, I'll just list out. It is interesting because Athena and Aries that I associate with the number one in the epics, they're fighting against each other. And so what has happened is Aries has bloodlust. He has gone bloodlustful, and so he's no longer a number one in the stories. He moves to a number eight. He takes the other side of the Enneagram during the battles. So Athena is one, Hera is two, three is Neptune, and four is Venus. Venus is she's kind of she's a go between. So is Mercury. Mercury's kind of got a bit of a neutrality, but then they are fighting against. So they are with the Greeks.
Hold on. So you just went through the one,
One, two,
two.
three.
All right. How does it look with that?
This doesn't
Different?
this doesn't fit with my flow very much. Except for I do like Saturn, and that's about it.
Because I know there was the other one that you showed. Even this one though has different. See Jupiter down here, and down here he's got Mars.
Yeah,
What about this one?
that one I like Venus down at the 4 spot, and I like Jupiter in the 7 spot, and I like Saturn. That one's a little closer.
All right, so
Yeah,
so let's finish the going through the demons, and then I think that'd be a good segue into because I was reading some stuff and it's like, okay, if the Enneagram is, this, some people say, the key to everything, right? That, and you could see here how it's captivated Gabe, right? So, like, there's something to it. and, and me thinking with the whole like personalities thing, well, it's interesting if you read and then think about it as far as personality types go. And then once you then bring in, what is um, astrology a lot about? And it's very much about personalities and kind of this like, so that's, I think that'd be a good segue once we get through these demons here, is to go through hold on, I got this right here, to go through basically the connections between astrology and the Enneagram, because I think then when you think of things like personality types, then one can kind of easily see how that might relate to
yes,
astrology.
yes. Um, so let's see. I guess I left on Wrath number one, which is Satan, which
Yeah.
is so cheap. He's so cheap. Not to be conflated with hatred, but often it is.
So I think we could do better for
Mhm.
Satan. I think we do better for Satan.
You think we could do better?
I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck to,
Uh huh.
I'll let Apollyon go. That's
Okay.
kind of lame too. I
W-
even let a Baden go. But I think we could do better than Satan. It's
All
so
right.
generic to me.
Well, I think
Anyway,
yeah, I agree. I agree. It is generic, but the simplicity of it and also even the aspect of pointing the finger. Like the one, and even the Hippocratic oath. Of like uh, keeping it pent up leads to that urge to anger. But yeah, so Satan's infernal name is for wrath, very similar to Aries also. And Aries has a strong red association, right? So I have the Mars planet in the number one. And then for me, the planetary aspect of the number two is the moon, this lunar, and this is the giver with the shadow of pride and a remedial virtue of Magnanimity, um, greatness of soul, but also, oh, what's another? That's such a fancy, highfalutin word, magnanimity. But kind of one aspect of the uh, prideful one is that they value themselves so high. They share vanity with the number three. The three
Hmm.
and the two both have strong vanity flow. But this, in the infernal aspects, pride is named Lucifer. And so this differentiation between wrath being the one and Lucifer being the two, and having the planetary aspect of the moon is very fascinating to me because, and I want this is an important thing to parse it out, is that the number ones are still in the body group. They're still in the physical. The 1, 9, and the 8, the top of the Enneagram is external of you. It's in the body, but it's also what you can see. Like when you look down, you see your body. Your body is outside in your field of vision. So I think of this as the stage of the acting aspects. But when you go into the 2, you're now on the internal realm, and the infernal name for pride is Lucifer. And so this again catches on to that aspect of we project Satan to the external and we call everything bad as just Satan, but we don't look within at our pride because it is the pride that is in your feeling trines that is Luciferian. And so that I think is a powerful deviation that Lucifer and Satan are right next to each other on the Enneagram with just a skin breadth of difference from the external to the internal. And so, yeah, pride is Lucifer. Deceit did not have an infernal name, mostly because the church was using it. They didn't want to, they were going to list the 7 deadly sins. They left a couple sins for themselves to manhandle the people. So deceit doesn't have an infernal name.
Right.
But I was using devil as another broad word, but there's something really so it's unofficial, it's acanonical for me to say this. So I'm using the devil as the aspect of deceit, but there's even an aspect of doubling musically. There's something really neat about how music has a certain charm to it. So I'm thinking of the divided line in music when I talk about a doubler. um, but then PK was kind of chewing on it too because it's a free agent. It's acanonical. It's not on the list of the 7. So that was kind of a space filler. And then I'll just fire off real quick. Oh, but number 3 is the planetary aspect of Neptune. So it's got this watery, shaky
Well,
legs, being unsure of what's under your feet. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're still on number 3.
Yes. Yep.
Remember we got Aramon for 3.
Which when PK and I started chewing on it, we were looking at Ahriman as a real good filler for this deceiver, this achiever with a shadow of deceit, planetary aspect of Neptune in the systems the way I see it. And then number 4 is envy. It's an individual with the shadow of envy. The infernal name for envy is Leviathan. And Leviathan has something of an aquatic aspect as well. A lot of times, Leviathan is a something of a sea monster. I think it's literally the Cetus constellation coming through Pisces, the water sign, also correspondent to Neptune. Pisces correspondent to water. But yeah, Leviathan is, I think, Cetus in the heavens. But then comes, so that's Leviathan, the individual. Number 5 is an observer with the shadow of greed, also known as avarice. And avarice is a profound word. It is rooted in a certain precinct along the Nile River was called the Iberus. And the Iberus precinct was very greedy. They taxed outsiders a lot. And so something that I think a lot of culture engineers want us to forget is that the word Hebrews is rooted in the word avarice. And it's not about the people, it's about the behavior of the region. The way that the region would tax people coming down the Nile River in the Ibris uh, precinct. And its infernal name is Mammon.
Right. And this is greed. Um, the kind of more known term is
Yes.
greed, mammon. Makes sense. Here we got definition of avarice, an inordinate desire of gaining and possessing wealth.
Yes.
Fancy word sounds like for greed.
Can you look up on Wikipedia Mammon? Can you look up the article, just the first one that comes up? This was really fascinating to me. Um, so one thing about the number 5 personality type, a lot of people think about money right away, but it's also in the spiritual plane. They will often withhold information. Sometimes they're just not good givers. Number 2 is a giver personality type. And the number 2 and the number 5 are almost the opposite of each other. Well, you know, it's weird. When you flip a 5 in reverse, it looks like a 2. And the 2 and the 5 are the inverse of each other. Also, likewise with these personalities. Scroll down to the black and white sketch picture of Mammon. It is the crate right there. Can you make that big? This is too fun. This is too fun. This is kind of my proof. I like to incriminate the social engineers, and I'm kind of complimenting them when I do. That's Nancy Pelosi. And the name of the artist who made that picture is an anagram for Nancy Pelosi. The guy who made the picture's name is oh
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I can't see it here. I think it's in, if you back out of the picture, it's in the little sub caption right there. Colin Day Plancy. You can totally pull Nancy Pelosi out of that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might have a jock left over or something. Um, but it does look like her, doesn't it?
It does. That's crazy.
And it fits what she's doing. I mean, it doesn't just look like her; it has the spiritual essence of her reputation. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's so profound how, and that's the kind of alchemy I like to share with people. Is it doesn't just look like or sound like or relate to, but the actual person on the stage of archetypes is playing the role to the dime. It's really really wild. So, and now also, if you identify as a number 5, don't take it as I'm calling you Nancy Pelosi. Don't, you know, we have again, stay free in your associations. You know, but yeah, maybe there's some lessons in that for some people more than others. So number 5, Mammon also has the nickname Broken Banners and Fallen Spears. That's one of his infernal names. His character is really drawn out in Paradise Lost. Um, I studied Paradise Lost in trying to find the Enneagram in there, and it was there, but it wasn't popping out in perfect order. And I'm going to have to review Paradise Lost, where in the Temple of Malsaber they create what is called Pandemonium, the House of all Demons. And sure enough, almost every aspect of the Enneagram is present and accounted for, except there's no infernal spirit for fear. There's no infernal spirit for deceit. But the other 7 are totally running around in pandemonium. So number 6 is not identified as a deadly sin, but I had fear in that position, and I was calling fear Belial. And a great amount of my reasoning was that Belial is considered what is too much or excess. Is that right, PK?
Um, it looks like it's more about worthlessness.
That's it. Worthless.
And looking back at the Hebrew, and see, I'm kind of starting to be on the train of the Septuagint is where it's at. Like, fuck the Hebrew. The Septuagint, dude, when you start reading that and then and then like looking at the translations and then uh comparing certain words and then like looking at the Hebrew, it's like night and day. They use the same words. This word that they use for Belial is translated into like 7 different words. It doesn't make much sense. Like
Yes.
literally the Hebrew word for Belial, you look at the coordinates and stuff, it is like it means a bunch of different words. And then of course if you look at the Septuagint, well they have a different word for everything because it's Greek. you know? So but yeah, it was this connection, this thread with I think worthlessness is the, to be of no value, be
Yeah.
without value.
Yes. And that was what I think uh, cued me to associate it with the fear of a loyalist, because I psychologically I'm just kind of feeling out what the loyalist
Yeah, this right here.
Right. Look at that. Look at that. Yo, we got
Mhm.
graphs, y'all. We got
We
graphs
we
up
got
in here.
graphs, watch out. I
That's
found a
right.
pretty cool website of this. This was the 5. They have them at Thanker, but it goes observe, analyze, need to understand the world, fear of being overwhelmed, detached. Does that jive with you?
Yes, for the number five.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, number five's the fifth muse is Melpomene. She's a sad pussycat. She's very
And
detached and
5
kind of,
was the greed. Yeah.
yeah, and that she keeps to herself. Um, and it's oftentimes, sometimes the number five is just a pessimist. Um, her symbol is a frowny face. She's the muse of tragedy. And sometimes a good pessimist is like, I feel so shitty. I'm just not going to share it with everybody else. Y'all can run
Right.
and think everything's hunky dory. I'm just going to keep my negativity to myself. And then they keep to themselves, and then they giggle when everybody falls on their face with their toxic positivity.
So my
So
my bad to go back 5. You're
yeah,
on 6.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, number six, Belial. I was thinking of that worthlessness as the antithesis of what the loyalist is striving for. Loyalists tend to be collectivists. They tend to have that be
Yeah.
very single-minded. Um, and so I was thinking that what keeps a loyalist in the herd is a fear or a shadow of being worthless. And so that was just kind of me psychologically assimilating the Belial with the shadow of one who is loyal. Um, but I think we
I do like that though. Now that I'm kind of understanding it a little bit more,
okay.
the worthlessness of it.
Hmm.
It's the fear of being worthless, and this goes, you know, to our change of changing this to fear, because everything, changing this fear right here to doubt,
Right.
because everything you're talking about here is more about the doubt in yourself. That fear comes from that self-doubt that you
Yes.
have.
Yes. And another thing about um, so Belial means worthlessness. If you have loyalty, one of the strongest sense or strongest rites of passage for the loyalist is getting married, is making a commitment to somebody. It doesn't even have to be marriage. It's just the intention to get married is to have um, loyalty. And what happened for so many people, if they go through a breakup, the first thing they fall into is a sense of worthlessness or of not belonging. But it's also a real steep cliff of doubt, of self doubt. It really hurts when you're coming out of a long term. You look back at all the years that you could have been doing better things with your life. Oh man, it hurts. It hurts. Represents counterbalance of chaos for both good and evil, the breaker of
It's an interesting
paradigms to
comment.
change into new cycles. Nice, Howard. Nice.
Hmm.
right. So, and that is also, again, the Lover's card is a wedding ceremony. The Devil card is like a divorce. It's a kind of like a divorce. It burns more for the man, by the way. On the Rider Waite deck, only the man is
Oh,
getting.
he's starting some shit
What's that? Women use
over
sex.
here. Ooh,
And some men.
them
Yeah.
fighting words. Good. You said and some men there, kind of.
Good save. Good save.
Good save, buddy.
And one other thing, Polly's on it because the six. I always love to point out it's sexy. I mean, look at the shape of the look at that shape. Like you see a painting with that shape, and a lot of ladies' thoughts go to very sexual places. The number six, and some
Well,
guys too.
so it kind of does go with that security aspect too, and the thought of being worthless, and
Hmm.
so that, yeah, I think it totally plays in here with the six, and it's fitting number six. What do you
Right.
have correlated with your tarot with the six?
It's the Lover's card and the Devil's
Oh,
card. Yep,
perfect.
card number
Yeah.
6 and card number 15. 15 adds up to the 6. And let's see, my Devil's card was missing for a couple months. I was starting to get worried, but then I found it. And it's all good, y'all. It's all good. Slick found the devil. It's not hiding anymore. I found him. um,
What was that?
oh, here, I always do it upside down. So this is the devil card in the
Yeah.
Thoth deck. And, a lot of people see the poles and the holes. Slick likes to be kind of original. I see a mosquito. I see a mosquito's eyes. Yellow fever causes the liver to shut down, and so you get jaundice. Your eyes turn jaundice. So yellow fever was conveyed by the mosquitoes um, during the Plantagenet takeover when Haiti was there was an immigration crisis in Haiti. Well, they kept blaming the Haitian immigrants for spreading the yellow fever, but guess what else they said at the same time? They said that the Haitians are immune to the yellow fever. So
Hmm.
it's their fault for bringing it here, but they don't catch it. That was their C virus of the day. But also, Apollo is associated with pestilence because he is who shoots from afar. And Apollo brought into the war of the Iliad, he was conveying the technology of archery, and that was a culture clash. Archers are cowards. They don't even know if their arrows landed or not. They shoot from so far away they don't even get the glory. They don't care about the glory. They shoot from behind that wall. It's not even hand to hand. But the Spartans and the Greeks, they used spears, and they did it much more in close proximity. So they had more courage, more bravery. So yeah, so Apollo is number six, Belial, but we're also thinking of somebody else. We'll get around to our other speculative potential for that number six because the next morning after our first talk, remember PK when you popped up another candidate starts with the A, has a logo that looks very familiar.
No, I cannot think.
Okay,
Oh, yes, I
yeah,
do remember it.
yes,
Let's talk
PK.
about it now.
You
Yeah,
want to do it now? Okay, all
yeah.
right. So yeah, the next morning we were kind of. I was re-listening to the whole conversation because it was so rich. It was so rich. And PK says, "What about this dude,
And
Astaroth?"
I wasn't that familiar with him, but you've heard of him before. And it says it's in some films that I've never heard of down here. But
Yes,
Astaroth. How many of y'all have heard of Astaroth?
I believe he is the 52nd seal of Solomon, and 52 is the number of weeks in a year. Um, so I do recall studying Astaroth once upon a time. And what was really fascinating is the sigil of Astaroth is
Oh yeah.
is
I could
well.
totally pull that up, dude.
Please do, please do. the sigil of Astaroth, sigil number 52 on the seal of Solomon, it has the word tarot in it. In his name is a Taro.
So this right here.
Yes. Yep. You can see has on top, and then you see the word tarot. Has tarot on the bottom. So this word, in terms of sigils, has a lot going on. It's got a whole lot going on. It also has the rota. It has a lot of stuff in there. But what I see is a broken sigil derivative of the Jesuit order. The Jesuit order has a symbol that is said to be an eclipse, a solar eclipse, where the moon has blackened out the sun ever so temporarily, but because of that, the ring becomes forbidden fruit. If you look at a solar eclipse, it will burn your retina. And so the eclipse itself is forbidden fruit. And you can ask our buddy Mario. Mario still has a gash on his visual field from looking directly into an eclipse once upon a time. And you know what? Right before the Great American Eclipse, Zaralath was getting all hyped up and ready for his ritual, and he's like, "I'm gonna look at it. I ain't scared. I'm gonna look at it. Y'all tell me if you don't think I should. I can't find anybody in history who's ever been." And I'm like, Zaralath, no, don't do it. Ask Mario. Ask Mario." So I talked him off of the ledge there, and I think I saved Zaralath's vision that day, or Mario did rather.
So check that out.
Right on. Right on. Yeah. And if folks aren't seeing it right away, I forgive you. And maybe study how sigils work. Study how you can break up aspects of a sigil and reconfigure it in just enough difference to disguise it, but just enough similarity to have plausible reliability.
There's an H right here. You could go like this, and then there's an H. You
Yeah,
know?
man. Yeah,
I
man.
was looking for the S. The S was a little bit hard to do. It's like, maybe the S is tricky.
Mm-hmm.
But it's there. I mean, you got the
Yes. And
cross 3. Yeah.
something. I guess I should say this. Ladies and gentlemen, check out the slickdissident.com merch store. I've been working on some merch and some of my own symbols for my own endeavors, and something I'm actually dealing with is aspects of sigil art craft, and that is because some of the images that I want to use are too similar or too trademarked. I can't just cut and paste images that anybody else has, but if I scramble it up sufficiently, then it's considered altered with my own for my own educational purposes, or for my put forward with a new purpose. And so I actually had quite a few designs get shot down because they were too similar, and I tried to come back with them with a couple alterations to make it more personal to my own artistic expression. So strangely enough, I've been dealing with some of the sigil correspondences over here on my Slick Dissident channel. Thank you, PK. Thank you so much, buddy. Yeah, so I got the T-shirts, I got little kids onesies, and I got some Zippos down at the bottom, and I also designed the back of a tarot deck that has some of the zodiac and the territories mapped in there.
You did this. Okay.
Yeah,
You did a tarot deck. That's pretty cool.
yeah. So, and it's just a Rider Waite, kind of just your standard, nothing special yet. But I do have some other designs I'm going to be looking into. So, come back every once in a while and see the new and improved slickdissident.com.
Gripping.
Coming after you, Juan. Coming after
What up,
you.
Lon?
I'm gonna design a hat with the homunculus on it with some sigil magic. Yeah, buddy. Thank you, PK. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So what are we on?
Well, one thing before we leave the that Jesuit logo of the Astaroth, The reason why it blew my mind, you came to it from you suggested that autonomously. I didn't suggest anything. I wasn't doing any mentalism on PK, y'all. He came to it on his own path, and it was such a home run because I consider the loyalists to be powerfully correspondent to Ignatius Loyola, and I don't, I don't postulate that Loyola uh, named the word loyalist, but
What's
I
the
think
skinny on him? What's the quick
he's
rundown on him?
yeah, he's the grand poobah of the Jesuit order. He is the alpha of the Jesuits. And so for you to come with the Jesuit with something that I know is a hyper sigil of the Jesuits, and you're not even thinking of Ignatius Loyola, I'm like, this is the way. This is the way, because you came with Astaroth, and I happen to know that that's a derivative of Ignatius Loyola's uh, insignia at large. Yes, and one
So yeah.
yeah, and one thing to remember about Ignatius Loyola, and I think a lot of people have just a bad cultural bias. They think of Italy too quickly when we talk about Vatican. Today, everybody goes to Italy. I would love for people to think more about Spain. When they hear the word Jesuit, you should be thinking about Spain. Spain is not on a lot of people's conspiracy map. Everybody's over there buzzing about fascism in Italy. They're not looking at Spain nearly enough. So yeah, when I think of Ignatius Loyola, I think about Spain. And Spain has a fascinating history, especially in context of slave owners, conquistadors, conquering other lands. One thing that just gets my girdle is that whole white colonialism and white slave owners. They are turning a blind eye to the fact that the people in Spain were a rainbow of colors, y'all. They came in a whole rainbow of colors. So yeah, equal opportunity slave owners. That's what was up. Yes.
All right.
So
Enough of that guy.
yes, yes. So one other thing about the Loyalists being in that number 6 position is, who do you have to validate your marriage with? It has to go through the ecclesia. So of course there's a strong 6 correspondence. All of the church is parked right here. An aspect of weddings have to go on a record that is authenticated, that proves that you're remaining loyal. But also, I correspond this with uh, it's a vast in the context of the social constructs. I correspond the number 6 to your universities, your scholars, your academics. Um, and I'll be real quick on this, because not only did the Jesuits control education at large, as did the tutors, um, this is a Elihu goat. This is the goat that is the typology of this goat is called an Elihu goat. And Elihu Yale is the grand poobah of Yale University. Yeah. So it's got a big fat Y on here, but also these gymnasts on the bottom. They're doing acrobatics. They're doing kind of the human tower ceremony that is traditional to Spain, the human towers that they do once a year. Um, but the gymnosophists were the foundation of the first academy in Greece. So I believe these guys are doing gymnastics, and they are underneath. They're at the foundation of all academy at large. Yeah, I knew you would see that. Don't make me beat you with it. Don't make me beat you with it. So
So it
yeah,
does look like a. That's why you don't. That's why you have it upside down.
yes,
It's too upright for you if it's the. Okay, I see.
that's that's right. But this is the mask for the plague. It's a plague doctor mask. That's why there's the pestilence of Apollo. So yeah, Elihu Yale is on here, and also Juan. It's so cool. Juan just showed up right now. Juan, remember the paintings of Elihu Yale? If you look up multiple paintings of him, he always has his little Tamil slave on a chain with a collar on his neck. In multiple paintings, he has the same dude whose name is Tamil. And I believe that that is signifying that the Tamil language, which Kamala Harris, by the way, that's where her roots are. The Tamil language was used for uh, rare gems industry. The entire language of valuing gems in the kingdom of crystals is heavily saturated with the Tamil language. And I think they could communicate in rare minerals and rare exchanges on the black market, communicating with the Tamil language. So it was very beneficial to have a Tamil slave. It was like a sign of high class society that you have one of the rarest breeds of slaves that there is. So it's not just any slave; he's a slave from Tamil India. And that's interesting too. Another thing, a lot of people are thinking, look, this little African American boy. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. That was an Indian. That was an Indian. He's a black Indian boy. So again, with us assuming that any continent had any single skin color is just so ignorant. It's just so ignorant. So yeah, that's a black Indian boy. All right.
All right, back to what are we on?
Want to move to seven? Number seven?
Seven, which is gluttony. This one, it was a pretty settled one.
Right. Yep. Gluttony is named Beelzebub in the infernal aspects, and he is called the Lord of the Flies. Is another name for him. So I found it very neat that there's a.
Oh, no, it's not settled. I had this one at Behemoth.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Beelzebub is, ooh, see, we missed him. I think, oh, is Beelzebub number 8?
No, I think Beelzebub is gluttony, but
Oh,
but I could
okay.
see Behemoth as well. I could see Behemoth as well, um, because of the because Socrates is the number 7 in the symposium. He is the enthusiast with the shadow of glutton, but he's also sprawled out over the vast furniture. He's occulting the secrets of the number 6. But that is also correspondent to Behemoth. Is there is a certain largeness.
I mean, look at his picture, though. I
Damn, he looks
mean,
like Ganesha.
he looks like he's been eating some shit.
That is cool. That is cool because uh, Xenophon's version of Socrates is very stoic, and not a skeptic. Plato's Socrates is more skeptic. Xenophon's is more stoic. And when I think of elephants, I think of stoicism. I really do. And also,
I had this
go
new
ahead.
look on Beelzebub and being the Lord of the Flies, you know, with all of our gadfly oistros weaving is, you know, I feel like Beelzebub is more about uh being the Lord of the Flies. If the flies and the stinging has to do with your passions and stuff like that,
Mm,
then, you know, it makes, I don't know, as much as seeing it there than with gluttony,
yes.
you know?
You, you know, where is it? Here we go. So, one thing is Socrates was nicknamed the gadfly of Athens. And so that locked it in for me because I know he's in the 7th seat in the symposium. His name is Gadfly. And when I saw Beelzebub and Gluttony, I was like, oh, yeah. Also, Socrates can drink and drink and drink and never get drunk. So this is card number 7. And you know what is this is in the Cancer constellation. And guess what cluster is in the Cancer constellation? It's the Beehive cluster is in the Cancer constellation. And so I think that satisfies the Lord of the Flies very, very soundly.
Because what's in that
The Beehive constellation, a Beehive cluster,
is in Cancer.
is in Cancer. And so this card is up at the top of my correspondences in the Cancer. And all of the Transformers movies were released in the season of Cancer, except for one. Way down 180 degrees, there was a solo standalone for Bumblebee. Bumblebee. And so that 180, I call this the rule of propinquity. When things are 180 degrees apart from each other, a lot of loyalists would say, oh, they're opposites. You're way off course. And I'm like, no, I am exactly 180 degrees in propinquity. And geometrically, that is one of the more powerful correspondences. So, yeah, Bumblebee was the only standalone release down
Okay.
here. Beehive
I,
Cluster up in
I
7th.
see your bumblebee, and I raise you a musca. I raise you an actual fly.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
I'm going to raise you a fly
Yes.
stinging the foot of the pedo centaur.
Yes.
You you,
Pedo
you
Centaur.
make me break out my my gadfly folder. See, I got a gadfly folder. I'd like to fill it up more, but this right here. So remember looking at this in centaur,
Mm-hmm.
and the fly gets back to that oistros, right?
Yes.
That stinging. And so, they even had a epithet of Zeus to do with flies, right? And it's kind of where they say, you kind of trace that back to this Beelzebub character too, that it used to be Zeus, uh Lord of Flies. And I wonder what festival they were doing with that. Are you familiar with Zeus being Lord of Flies, one of his epithets?
Yeah, because in the Greek pantheon, Zeus is the number 7 personality type. Totally. So yeah, that actually fits that as well. But probably more, not as much for like a insect that makes honey, which he does. He is the mead hall. There's the mead hall, but he's a cryptozoologist. He's a shapeshifter. He can turn into any kind of insect he wants because he ate Metis on his uh, one of his earliest lady friends. But think about the number 7, PK, and how when you divide any number by 7, it brings out the heptad of the Enneagram. The 1, 2, 4, 8, 5, 7, 1, 2, 4, 8, 5, 7, or some
Yeah, it's a
variation
cool
thereof.
base 10 trick. Yeah.
It is a cool base 10 trick.
Right. It only works in the decimal system. Yeah.
But it is shape shifting with the same nature. It's the essence of the number 7. It's the cryptozoology of what number 7 does. So yeah, I love this, buddy. This is a powerful weave. Big ups in
Yeah.
the chat.
Let me see here. Just quickly go through. Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah. But I love Behemoth too, man. I gotta say, I like
Yeah,
Behemoth.
I think I might need to present a better case, to
Mm-hmm.
going off Beelzebub than with that one, or we could just
Yeah.
leave it up to the chat.
Remember when I found a gadfly or a Mosca? It was a Mosca constellation, but it wasn't by Centaurus's heel. It was from a different book of astronomy, and it was in the Aries. It was right in the opposite side of the zodiac. So the Mosca is under Centaurus. Centaurus, in my read, is very correspondent to the Wheel of Fortune card. And let's see.
Oh.
And I see the Wheel of Fortune card is kind of Centaurus, who is spearing the Wolf of Lupus, and it's very large. It's a very large constellation. But there's also the Centaur of the Labyrinth, of the Labyrinth of the Minotaur. I think that's kind of signified by some of the symbols here. And it bridges, like it starts in Virgo, but it ends across the equinox over in with the lupus on the end of the spear. So this bridges the winter equinox line. So it kind of has a double association. But notice that this character has a sword in their hands, little snicker snack right there. but also there are spears behind there's a spear there and there's a spear over here. And when I flip the whole thing upside down, this is a plumb line. This is how you measure an even line. This is how you measure the equinox, a 180-degree flat plane. You use a plumb, that's the color of the card, and the plumb line is swinging around down here. So there's some pendulum hypnosis going on with this. Yeah, buddy.
I
So,
see it.
so yeah, that's my centaur. I don't see any bug. Uh, other than the lightning bolts, there are lightning bolts of excommunication on here. So yeah, gluttony number 7, Beelzebub, and I do think the uh, Behemoth is a good fit because I could weave some Baphomet around the number 7. I have made that correspondence on my channel before. It's a long, sorted path, but there is some Baphomet potentially around the number 7, which people say is philologically related to the Behemoth. But the next one is next is Lust, which is Asmodeus, is the infernal name for lust. And let's see.
And that one was a pretty settled one.
Right.
You know, like the Leviathan, like some of the others.
Yes. And this is the card. Oh, yeah. Look at that statue. Ain't that a trip? So this was a card that Crowley changed the name of. You know, it was a strength card, but now it's the lust card. This was the number 8 card, and we're talking about the personality type number 8, but he switched it to 11, XI. So this was powerfully corresponded to Asmodeus when I first did the Enneagram in its original arrangement.
Lust, is that strength?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. But then he switched it to this card is now number 8. This is the adjustment card. Right. And it does have some corresponding colors to this the statue at the La Reine La Chateau. But that statue came up when we were doing our weaves on the Loki series. And I see its likeness very much in this card here. Both colors and even the gold band on the waist.
Let me make you big.
Okay. Yeah. It's got the gold band on the waist. The colors are a humdinger. I think the gold and the green are kind of hailing to Brigitte and also some of the magical orders, some of their systems. But also that hand. He's got the hand on the hip carrying his lantern down low. Unlike other decks, most other hermits have the lantern up high, like a high ideal, a guiding light, an example, maybe a stoic rather than a cynic, because this is like Diogenes, who had his dogs chasing behind him. We're in the Virgo constellation. These dogs, a lot of people think about the Canis Minor, Canis Major over in the springtime, but over in Virgo, there are 2 dogs on leashes. The Canis Venatici, it's an anagram for Vatican science, and the 3rd dog is just a few degrees over with the Lupus constellation. And so I think that is, Zaralath would know the whole story. Wolfnar, I think maybe Wolfnar is Lupus, and the Canis Venatici are the 2 pets of Odin. But this hermit has his hand down low, so he's kind of not stoic. He's more of a cynic. He's more of a dog haver.
Yeah, I was looking up that Lupus constellation, and before it was Lupus, it was just like wild animal. Had you ever heard that before?
No, but I love that.
So this comes from that Constellation of Words website. and it says basically it wasn't recognized as a wolf until the 16th century. The Greeks and Ptolemy thought of it more as generic wild animal.
Interesting.
Therion.
Wow. Conspiracy theory on.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I love about the lupus is in the common law
Real
phrase.
quick, this
Yeah.
one's for Occult Examiner out there.
Okay.
Christos
Yeah.
equals oistreo
Oh snap.
in
Oh snap.
gematria.
Oh snap.
There you go. Screenshot that one.
Give or take one with the rule of Kal-El.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, man. So in common law, there's a APB, a papal bull, an all points bulletin, and the phrase is caput Garrett lupinum. It means make him wear the wolf's head, or allow him to wear the wolf's head. And it is to say that there is an escaped convict in the neighborhood, and if you've heard this papal bull, caput Garrett lupinum, then you are programmed, you're compelled to kill them at all costs. And if you let them inside your house, if they gain shelter within your own house, you have to burn your own house down, or else they will consider you complicit with the criminal. And so that fact is so profound that they had people programmed to burn their own house down, or else they would face the wrath of the powers that be. But that's still embedded in our Third Amendment. We still have the Third Amendment is to not not to shelter soldiers even during wartime, because they might be derelict soldiers. They might be outcasts. They might be turncoats. They might look like they work for the government, but they're on the run, and they come knocking on your door and saying we need to stay here. But if they don't have the right paperwork, you don't let them in. And in fact, you might have to let them in and then burn your own house down, or else they'll think you were harboring uh, what is that called when somebody derelicts, when somebody turns and runs in war?
Mm.
They're in dereliction of duty. So yeah, just some so all of those aspects kind of fit with what you were saying, that it means wild animal. Originally it was a generic term for wild animal, and so a renegade soldier is let them wear the wolf's head. They're a wild animal, they're no longer with the pack, and so it would have a command order to kill on sight. That lupus constellation, it never fails. It's still around today. Like in the Avatar series, there's a bounty hunter, female bounty hunter, and she's riding on this big, long snooted, looks like an anteater crossed with a wolf, and she's riding on its back, and she is a renegade force, rogue. She's in the black market, and she's riding around on this wolf, just like in the North mythology, riding on this black wolf and being an outcast or an outsider. And also, lupus is just outside of the law. The Libra constellation is right there, and they're just removed from the law. So they're literally embodying the word outlaw. In the stars, the word outlaw is coterminal to Libra. It's so profound how our language is stellar. It's totally stellar.
It is right by. You got Libra right here.
Right.
I don't know how easy you guys can see that. Let's
Thank you, PK.
do that. So you got Libra right there and lupus
Right.
right
And
here.
Libra
By
is
the
on.
centaur.
Yep. And Libra is on the orbital plane, right? Or the elliptic plane.
It's on the ecliptic, yep.
That's it, the ecliptic plane. So yeah, the outlaw is literally just outside of the law.
I like it. What that was number
Uh,
did you get in
No, that because we were on Asmodeus, and I kind of jumped ahead because this is card number 9. Asmodeus is lust is number 8, and so I kind of jumped ahead because you brought up that picture at La Reine Le Chateau, which is called Asmodeus, but it has the motif of this card, which is sloth. Number 9 personality type is sloth, a balanced peacekeeper with the shadow of Belphegor. And
Belphegor, yeah.
Belphegor. And so, yeah, and it is apropos because uh, the in the fall we're going through the fall, and the sun is actually losing energy, and the night is gaining real estate. And so there is an aspect of like time to go to sleep, time to rest. Yeah, around Belphegor, who is generally depicted on a toilet.
Right
Belphegor.
here.
He's uh he's stationary.
Chilling on the toilet.
Yes, this is the infernal spirit of sloth. He is oftentimes he has oh, and there's Belphegor's prime right there.
Mm-hmm.
31 numbers long. Yes, and the symbol for Belphegor's prime, folks, is the American Eagle logo. It's described as a upside down pie, but oftentimes it's sourced out of the Voynich manuscripts. They got the glyph for Belphegor's prime out of the Voynich manuscripts. That's where it was birthed from. And today they depict it as kind of the American eagle symbol. Um, yeah, it's fascinating how these mathematicians, they love to have fun, and they know that they're getting somebody's panties in a wad every time.
That's right. All right. Well, cool. We went through all of them. That was nice.
Yeah, buddy.
So I guess my only contentions were, let's see, devil, deceit.
Number 3.
Well, I said maybe that could be Aramon. Satan, think of a better one for Satan, but not Abaddon and Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other one? Oh, the Beelzebub.
No, Astaroth, number 6.
Number 6, you got Belial.
Oh, okay. Right. I had Belial, but then you came up with the Astaroth.
I take it back.
You take it back? Oh,
Dude,
maybe.
yeah, I'm convinced. Belial's good there. That
Okay.
worthlessness and
Yeah.
doubt, because the worthlessness comes from the sense of worthlessness comes from the doubt you have
Nice.
in yourself.
Nice. Well, maybe
I like Belial.
Astaroth can still be the 6. He could be the the symbol of the loyalist.
We'll double down.
That's right.
Okay, glutton. I got that. That's it. The gluttony.
Oh, okay.
Thinking behemoth, and you have Beelzebub there, right? Where do
Yep.
you have Beelzebub?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Beelzebub can go elsewhere, but I need more. I need more. I don't know, facts. I need more of a conviction for it.
Nice. Uh, so, uh, shall we move into the Stellarium? Will you drive my Millenniagram Falcon for me, PK?
Let's get into it. So, what are we doing in Stellarium? First, I want to show people what we're looking at here and just see that for those that aren't familiar with Stellarium, we got let me turn on the ground real quick so you could see what we're looking at. So see this green line here is going to be essentially the horizon. But I'm going to keep it off. But just so you guys know, when we're looking at stuff, that's the horizon. This blue line here is the equator. It's the celestial equator plane, also the equator of of Earth essentially, but it's someone described this to me, kind of fixed me on my one of my Stellarium presentations, that it's basically halfway, um, that the sun travels, because the sun will go all the way south and then it will go all the way north, right? And on the equinoxes, it goes. So this blue line here is you call it the celestial equator, but it's essentially the sun's path on the equinoxes.
Right.
And also another way to think about that line too is if we went down to Quito, South America, which is El Salvador, not El Salvador, it is Ecuador,
Ecuador.
right on the equator. See how this line then just straightened up because we're
Right.
right on the equator. So this line now goes straight up and down. And
Right. You could think of it as
another,
the
uh-huh,
high noon of the year.
yeah, another way to think about it is with Orion's belt, right? So when you
Boom.
look at Orion's belt, to the north of his belt here, that is what you call what we call the northern hemisphere, just talking about the sky. And then everything at the south of this star right here is in the southern hemisphere. um so that's another way and kind of a thing why Orion's useful. But all the stars to this side would be called the northern constellations, and
Yep.
all the stars to this side would be called the southern constellations.
Yes. And one thing that fascinates me is how there seems to be an inordinate amount of inanimate objects in the South. There are, there's the ship. There's a great number of tools. There's a pictor is like an art easel. There's a sculptor is a sculptor's table. There's all the pieces of the ship of Theseus. There's a compass down there. There's a writing crop, like a right angle
Mm-hmm.
writing crop. There is the Ara Altair is a furnace. It's kind of a burning furnace. Some could say it's the Aeola pile first steam engine invented by Alexander, hero of Alexander. Thank you. Yeah, man. All kinds of inanimate objects down here. Even the telescopium and the microscopium are down here. So it just seems so uh, artistically expressive to think of. I think of the southern hemisphere is like the cluttered landscape of a magi's laboratory.
Yeah.
The wild magician doesn't have time to organize his stuff, so it's all everywhere at once, so he can see everything he has on hand. And this, I think, is also signified by the Magi card in the Rider Waite, where he's standing in front of a table lifting a wand just off the page. He's got a wand on wand, lifted just off the page slightly, but he has at his hips a table always. And it has all the implements, the inanimate four elements. Um, but people overlook the table. It's such a interesting detail that the table is forgotten. Now, I always talk about Ara Altair as the table, but it turns out there's one that's called like the Mesa. I think it's called the Mesa is down here.
Mesa?
And it might be Mensa, which actually sounds like menstrual. I think that's a word for menstrual blood. But do you find a Mesa? Maybe Mensa?
Yeah, there you go.
There it is. This is also a table. Yes. That table, I think, signifies historically, I think it signifies there's a particular location on the south tip of South Africa that is used for astronomy. I think if you look into the history of the Mensa constellation, I think it was named by a guy who was on a plateau on the tip of South Africa when he gave it its name.
Yeah,
So yeah,
because I don't think you could see it. We can't even see it.
it's very vague. It almost looks like a
No,
temple
no,
to
it
me.
stays under the horizon for us. It's so far
Oh,
south
that's
that
right.
we can't even see it here in America.
Right. And that's why he had to be in South Africa when he gave it its association.
Yep, yep.
Right.
So one thing why we wanted to bring up Stellarium is if you've been watching Gabe's I don't know, recent you've probably been on him for about a month or two now. Is with the meteor showers. And so there was this cool plugin that we found, and where basically we could toggle on and off the meteor showers. And I have it set up here for one thing I'd like to know, maybe you guys would know in the chat, is so basically I have it set up here, meteor showers, configure.
I'll
I
be right
have
back. I'll be right back.
okay.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Yep, I have it set up here for the green is going to be confirmed, or in other words, it means active. So they're active meteor showers. And then this blue here is generic, so I'm not sure like why they're differentiating. I get active and not active, but then what's generic? I maybe it just means like there's no change ever or something, right? They're just generic, like they're always what they are and are never more or less active, right? That's the only thing I could think of. But anyway, that's what these three color codings are. And so basically, let's go back to it. And now let's go to the current time. And so you could see here we got this blue one, or the teal one is what I have labeled as the generic one. So I
Right.
don't know what that means as far as active or not active. It's just generic. And then what was the one, the South Taurids one? That was in
It's at the equinox line in the spring. If you click the on and off, they'll flash for you.
well, I got them.
Like click it on and off, and they go away and come back. Oh wait, there it is. Yeah, see how they flash?
Yeah.
That helps me because they're so small. I think they underplay them a little, but it's a big. They need a lot of information, so maybe they're just using fine print on purpose.
Yep. So hold on. Taurids, Southern Taurids. Here we go.
Now, the reason why. Oh, you already told them about the date, didn't you?
No.
Oh,
No. Tell them about the date.
okay. So this is the grand weave, and this is the point where I'm like, PK, we got plenty to talk about, buddy. We got plenty to talk about. Uh, so if you go to 1017, no, sorry, 917, uh, there is a partial lunar eclipse coming.
Yeah. See there, it just turned green. So that's pretty cool. Look, it there. See, it's yellow. What the hell does it jump like that? That's wild.
Uh,
But so
hmm,
it goes from yellow inactive, and then it jumps. Stellarium, what are you doing?
hmm.
That's kind of weird. That because all the other days, like, look, it goes. I'm going. That was backwards in time.
Yeah.
This is forwards in time by days. And see that jump? It jumps from being in constellation Taurus to freaking wow.
So I want to
So
give thanks.
that's yeah.
I want to give thanks to Chris Miner for bringing this on my radar. He just randomly, after seeing my Billows of Hephaestus presentation, he was like, "Is there something on 917?" And I was like, "Let me get into Stellarium and poke around." And sure enough, on 917, because the moon and the sun line up on the equinox line, this partial lunar eclipse is at its most proximal to the south toward meteor showers. And this had my bells and alarms and thought processes just reeling, um, because I had just revealed by running through the Billows of Hephaestus, half of them, I had just discovered that remember, the 5th of November is the date of, I believe, the pinnacle or the peak expression of the south toward meteor showers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's asking me about 917, and sure enough, the moon is that the moon that moves into it? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a moon right here, and it's pretty much full moon. So whenever this says like 98, and like this thing gets super technical, but you know how the moon looks full for pretty much 2 days, right?
Yep.
Um, so this has it, see, right here, it goes to 100 the next day. So this the day
Interesting.
before 917 is pretty much a full moon. It will sure look like a full moon, but you know, if you want to get super
Right.
granular with it, the full
And it,
moon is the next day.
right. And the partial lunar eclipse is almost negligible. Like when you see how minor of a chunk out of the moon is eclipsed in that moment, it's not even a full eclipse. It doesn't seem significant to anybody. But I had already had the south toward meteor showers on my radar because they will light up on election day. And now I'm thinking about what this has always meant and what this will mean in the years to come. And what's fascinating is election. I looked at the process uh, that isolated the first week of November as inevitably always will be election week. No matter how you cut it, it has to do with the Farmer's Almanac, and they wanted to avoid All Saints Day on November 1st because for Christian observances, Catholic really for Catholic observances. I want to be specific. The saints are definitely a Catholic aspect. Um, so they wanted to not intrude on All Saints Day. Now this tells me so much more on so many more levels that the election always comes the week after the masks come off. All Saints Day is the Catholic Halloween essentially. You know, and in Spanish culture down in the South, they practice Dios los Muertos. Is the Day of the Dead is November 1st, and so that is the Latin holiday of Halloween. And I find it so profound that the day of elections, if you think of all the monsters flooding the streets for almost a week in advance, because a lot of people celebrate Halloween for many, many days. But even after Halloween, All Saints Day kicks in. So you have another day of people wearing masks in celebration of the dead. And then is the day of selecting the hero who's going to come save the day. And all the monsters run away, and we go elect a hero. And then we move into Thanksgiving and gratitude. And then we move into Christmas with the presents. And so
Mm-hmm.
symbolically, I find it incredibly theatrical. I find it highly artistic that the social engineers give us this sense of remedy, this sense of hope, the sense of who's going to who's going to take the wheel for the next 4 years. And something else that is really synchromistic is knowing that all elections for quite a long time now have been on leap years. And leap years even have an aspect of a bit of a votive offering. There's a bit of a day out of time that is incorporated for one out of the 4 cycles, but it syncopates to the elections also. So,
So election day, are you talking what's significant about 917? I missed that.
oh, that will be the partial lunar eclipse.
Okay.
And that is when the moon. Now, keep in mind that South Taurid meteor showers are not going off during the eclipse on 9/17. However, that cosmic event, I use this metaphor. If you think of all of the meteor showers as a lighting prop up above the stage, where and on a theatrical stage, the moon on 9/17 is the closest to the one meteor shower that is labeled South Taurid meteor showers, but it's not turned on when the eclipse happens. However,
Why not? According to this, it is.
I think the South Taurid meteor showers occur on 10/5.
Okay. Yeah. According to this, look, when I go back to 9/8, I'm looking at this right here.
Does it turn on and off?
It turns to yellow. And then when I go to 9/9, it transports over here and goes to green, but it becomes active.
That is interesting that it moves location.
Yeah, I am super curious why it does that. That is weird.
Yeah. Can you go to 10/5 and see if it kicks on?
Yeah, it's still on 10/5.
Okay. So,
See it right here.
and that's election day, correct?
No.
I think
Election day is November 5th.
11/5.
Yeah,
Is it turned on now?
it's still on.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it is signified on 10/5. I think it's the peak. It might be a long cycle. It might have a longer cycle than just one day. A lot of the meteor showers, some of them go for weeks. The Aurigids actually go from August 26th all the way to September 5th. So different meteor showers have different intensities and durations, and very different symbolic uh, uh, symbols around them.
Here we go. This says it's from, look at that.
Look at that. Peak date is
Date
on
of peak election day.
November, the day to remember.
Look at them apples. Dude, that's kind of crazy. So, yeah, this has it going from September 23rd to December 8th.
Maybe that's why it flickers back and forth on us.
I don't know. It's just different data, I guess.
Yeah.
But this
Now,
is crazy. It's got the peak that day.
yes. So another thing to look at on, let me see, on that day, take a peek at Ophiuchus's foot. His 1 foot on the ecliptic. He only is granted, because his foot is narrow, while his body is huge elsewhere, but his foot only occupies 5 days of the ecliptic plane. And what I understand about that aspect of Ophiuchus is he is assigned the days of November 22nd, that's JFK Day, November 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th, essentially. So he only has 5-day Greece. 5-day Greece of the ecliptic is given to Ophiuchus. And on November 5th, there it is, Venus and the moon. Maybe go one more day back. Give the moon one more day before. There. On November 4th, Venus and the moon will be aligned on the foot, the 5 degrees of Ophiuchus's occupation of the ecliptic. Venus and the moon are going to be lined up the day before the elections. And this blows my mind because I consider this the JFK trauma ritual pressure point in terms of the grand homunculus of the epigenetic course of history. This is a weak spot in the collective psyche. It's right in the point of betrayal, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of caught my eye. I thought I would bring that to everybody's mind. Have no doubt, have no fear, y'all.
So
PK is here.
So that is, yeah, it is interesting that it's happening right there, on the foot of Ophiuchus. But we do have to remember the moon and Venus will line up once a month, right? And
right?
so,
Oh, you know what else, PK? I learned this from Kaylee Burkana. Give thanks and praise, Kaylee. The moon progresses exactly 13 degrees every day. It makes 13-degree jump
yeah,
in 24 hours.
uh, mm,
And
no,
no,
uh, wait, I don't know. The easy way I remember it is that the moon will move through a full sign every 2 days. Okay, so yeah, so if you're
yeah,
saying 13 degrees every one day,
right,
yeah, yep.
yeah. And Ophiuchus is called the 13th constellation. He's not the 13th sign, he's the 13th constellation. He's affiliated with 13 very powerfully. Also, the death card is number 13, which is signified by Scorpio. And so there's a lot of the Judas kiss of betrayal is here. The death of JFK is here. This is mostly Scorpio aspecting, but the Ophiuchus, I think, is also intrinsic to the poison. He's the serpent charmer. He's also correspondent to Pharmakios. He's the scapegoat. He's the pharmakos, which JFK was the pharmakos. He was the sacrificial goat. So
All
yeah,
right, when's this eclipse happening again? The 9 was it is
17,
it 9/17?
917.
All right, here's my theory with the moon magic. What they do is, so basically we're on 9/17 here, and this or the next day is going to be the full moon, or whenever the partial eclipse is. um what I feel like they do is they time things to where you look at this, or you look at um where a significant planet is at this time. And, okay, so there's Jupiter, um, right between the horns of the bull. And
Right.
so what they do then is this basically will charge that, and then they'll have a event on this day.
Yeah, buddy.
So whenever the sun then gets to that spot on the ecliptic, and so we're at 80 degrees on the ecliptic, that would be around um May. So around, what did I say, 80 degrees?
Uh
So
huh.
so look, then now the sun's here on June 11th. So that's what I'm seeing. I've found a couple patterns. I haven't really documented it, but
Yeah.
keep an eye out for those eclipses, and then they'll either do it with the sun, where it goes to a planet where the planet was during that day, or um can do it the whole way flipped, where uh the date would be where the sun is, where that moon was, when the sun gets to where the moon was when it
R-
was
Right.
eclipsed. Yeah.
It's almost like they're passing a torch in on the tracks, like what is that called? The race that they hand the torch, the relay, a relay race.
Mm-hmm.
And something I always point out, and I think this is a nice initiation for the astronomy skeptics. I think it's very useful for them to know that the word theo, if you read Plato's Cratylus dialogues, Socrates is making a fascinating bridge to the old meanings of words, and there's quite a few words that he's actually hash marking, immortalizing the old meaning of words in that dialogue. And he is reminding these two youths who are with him, he's telling the next generation, hey guys, you know what Theo means? And they're like, yeah, it means wanderer. And the other one's like, no, it means planet. And he's like, yeah, it means those. But you know what it used to mean? It used to mean racer. And that is so potent that the same word for God is the same word for planet, same word for wanderer, and same word for racer. Because one of my grand theories is that they, up on the world stage, they are behaving like gods. They want to emulate these dynamics that PK was just saying. So their political agenda for the time period that we'll be in the skies, they'll be literally pantomiming and ritualizing these passing of the baton, passing of the relay. And so you'll have a headline with Musk and Trump on a day when their planetary aspects are behaving much like the headline will behave in your psyche. And so if you guys don't have
Yep.
Stellarium, I highly recommend it. And PK's going to teach us all up. He's going to teach us up.
Yeah. It took me a minute, but there's so many videos. If one really wanted to get into it, you could
Right.
watch a bunch of videos. What was the thing after? You know how they're always kind of, so you got the lunar on 9/17, and then is there something? Is there a solar the next month? But maybe not in America.
Yes, very soon after. I got it here somewhere. Give me 1 second.
October
Let's
2nd.
see.
October 2nd.
Because they do. They always happen in pairs, right?
Right.
There's that duality aspect to it.
So October 2nd. Yeah, the moon should be here. Cool.
It's a solar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and that's very close to Spica on her elbow there.
Oh yeah, it's
And Mercury is right next to it. Moon, Sun, and Mercury's right there.
yeah, Mercury's always kind of close, but it is definitely.
Uh, this is hailing
Let's see.
Polyhymnia is the rhetorician of the heavens. She's known as she with the sharp elbows. She's often holding the one finger to her lips. She's not in the Virgo. There's not a lot of Virgo, but the sharp elbows comes to mind here just because of the eclipse on the elbow of the
Mhm.
Virgin. That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, which is
Or her
close
shoulder, even.
to that. What's it called? Autumn equinox
Right.
spot.
And it's right above the cup of the Crator. That's about as close, that equinox in the next. Yeah, that's the Holy Grail, y'all. This is the Holy Grail. The Crator constellation is the biggest uh, archetypal chalice that there is. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This is the alpha of all Holy Grails. Yeah, man.
So that's 10-2. Um,
Oh,
what's that? 30 degrees.
while we're looking, 10/8 has an eclipse, or I'm sorry, 10/8 has a meteor shower, and I think it's the Draconids. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Let's go find them.
And this last year was only 10/8 last year was the preamble, the build up to the big pop off in Israel. I think that was on 10/12 October. No. What did they call it? October 7th? October 7th. Wasn't that the day that the Israel conflagration popped off? So
I don't
what?
know about that.
I think so. They called it October 7th, which is 8 over to 7. It's also a chess move. That's pigs on the 7th. When they say 8 is signifies the rooks, and then when you move them to the 7 square or to the penultimate of your opponent's pawn row, that's called pigs on the 7th. And the way that they jumped over the wall for that, it's all talking inside baseball over our head. But for the draconid meteor showers to always happen at the same time every year, it's so fascinating that that was the year that Israel was losing their shit when the draconid meteor shower was popping off. So I'm finding this meteor shower cycle to be very powerfully correspondent to the psychological operations that come our way year after year, um, and maybe dressed up a little different from one year to the next, depending on their agenda. But yeah, I just had to point that one out too. This is the Draco constellation is Yggdrasil. This is the lizard egg because Draco is hoarding his treasure. He's going around the greatest egg that there is the pole star
Yeah,
Polaris.
that's crazy. I didn't know Draco had a meteor showers. Like he's spewing meteor showers.
In his head. It's a,
Draco,
he,
look while he goes. Here's the pole star. Right, we're facing north.
yes.
Yeah, he's spitting them out of his head.
Isn't that
Yeah, yeah.
fascinating?
That's that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
So I think that incorporating the meteor showers is the nuance that I really want to foster on my channel and have more attunement with, because I think this fine detail has been overlooked and named other things. In mythology, there's so often that there's a cutting off of the head of a character or lapping off his unit and throwing it in a river. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's this, that, and the other thing. But I almost never hear people weave the meteor showers into the constellations. And so
Well,
this
it
is
only stays active for a couple of days. This
okay.
one,
That is
according to
interesting.
this, it only stays active from like the 4th to like the 10th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it fades out.
Huh.
Yeah. So this is kind of the next level of synchro mythicism that I really want to hone in on. And, as it rolls out, I believe, I'll share this. I believe that these meteor showers are the billows of Hephaestus. I think that is like the overarching archetype of what it means to have approximately 19 or 20. It's really 19 on the list now. Maybe we lost one in history, but there's 19 meteor showers like clockwork every year. Each of them are unique and different, and they're being signified in different locations around the star map. But when I read the description of the billows of Hephaestus in the Iliad, he's called the strong armed one. And the Greeks are so ironic. It's brilliant. Of course, he's the strong armed one because he has lame legs. His legs are serpent legs. So when they compliment his upper body, they're also implying that his lower body isn't his strong suit. That's why he needed to make the chariots. I call him the chair at a bull cause because he is Ariga, the charioteer, right next to the bull. And so there is something of powerful sympathetic magics that Hephaestus is kind of the holder of because he's lame, because he's crippled, he's an underdog, he's cast out multiple times, but he rises up. Sounds a little like Stephen Hawking's to me. He's also an inventor and an innovator. Well, but okay, but his billows, they describe that he has 20 different billows and that he has to orchestrate the billows just right with just the right amount of cunning uh, synchronously so that he can craft the shield of Aegis in the armor of Achilles. And PK, I was thinking about us in our weaves on the future tense verbs. The Greeks had future tense verbs that just we have very minimal access to. And the description of the shield of Aegis as he's forging it, it is it's alive. The way they describe it is that it's actually doing things, and there's like people coming and going on the shield. And the way they describe it is as though they're trying to capture the spirit of how the Greek language was verb dependent, because the actual characters are animated on the shield the way it's described. It's really beautiful. So it definitely made me think of the future tense verbs.
Yeah, I could see that. Um, is there anything else you want to show with Stellarium?
Um, well, one more aspect of the South Torrid meteor showers. I heard the higher side chats had a character on from India, and I forget his name. Um, and they in his hour two, which I did not go and pay for hour two, but apparently they in India they even have a ritual observance that is based on the South Torrid meteors. And he hinted, because you know how they always tell you what they talk about in hour two to get you to come over.
Mm-hmm.
He actually said that there's a hero on a white horse who's fighting for the people who live on the surface layer. He's often in white, and he's resistant against the evil forces from the underworld, from Agartha or from the down below. And somehow that the holiday that venerates this hero on a horse is tied into the South Torrid meteor showers. They said it exactly, and I was like, they're not talking about elections. They're not talking about elections, but they're talking about the meteor shower that is always activated right in stride with the elections. And so I just find it fascinating how these meteor showers are just coming more and more into import in my systems. Um, and I think the white character on the white horse is going to be, would you say Perseus and Pegasus?
Yeah, and it's interesting about meteor showers and stuff. Remember the weave that we had about how the meteor showers essentially like replenish the earth. So you could think it's the astral jizz, right, that comes down and impregnates. It's what brings the astral energies down onto the earth. So whenever you see these things flying by and it's like, well, none of them ever hit the ground or whatever, but still it's like raining the astral rains down here. And I think there that interesting connection with, they say comets, but I'm thinking it's also two meteor showers with a good this was the thing back in the day, they'd say a good wine year is followed by a uh a comet. Or I don't know if you could say a strong meteor shower, but the idea is that after you have a good wine year, the earth is depleted, right? At first it sounds backwards that I said it backwards. But if you think about it, a good wine year produces good grapes, good wine. Then afterwards, the earth's depleted and needs more. So it gets that in the form of a comet.
Right?
Um, so I think that connection's very interesting. But yeah, they used to, and it was way easier to pay attention to these things, when we weren't living in all this light pollution. Even small cities drowned out the sky to see these meteor showers. I did go out into the sticks past meteor shower. Which one was it? We were talking about it. Do you remember? It
Was
was,
it
I
Arigid?
think maybe a month ago. What?
Was it during the Arigid meteor showers?
Yeah, sounds
Like
right.
right
It
around.
came from no, it was the Perseus ones.
Okay, yeah. So that
Yeah,
would have been around 812.
yeah, yeah. It was the Perseus ones, and man, it was crazy.
That's right.
It was crazy. I mean, I used to live on the beach, and like, that's the best spot for no air pollution, right? Literally the ocean. But next best thing out in the sticks, and yeah, it was way more than I expected. It was going off, we'll
Yes.
say. So it was super cool, and just to connect with that and think about that astral energy, and coming down, and then it's like, in a weird way, it's what we eat, that astral dust, seeds the fields. Obviously I'm speaking in a very woo woo weird way, not literally, but
Praise Arato. Praise
yeah,
Arato.
man. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And even so that is kind of taking it to the next levels will be like the comets, and then also asteroids, comets, meteor showers. Oh my. Uh, yeah, I think that there is a lot just kind of slipping through the cracks in a lot of the synchromystic community. But another thing about fertilizing the earth in the space jizz,
Yeah.
the panspermia of these heavenly
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
Another thing that makes for profound fertilization is blood. And I think that's something that the artists are very dialed into, especially the way that they work storylines. So that I always talk about how uh, at the end of the winter is symbolically when the white melts away and the earth seems to be rising up. But this is kind of signifying the deliverance. I think that symbolically, deliverance happens every year when the snow melts and the spring begins. But that is also in the occult world. They call that the season of sacrifice. And this is, coming through March, where the marching orders take place, and a lot of blood has been spilled through the millennia. So while there is the divine feminine aspect of blood is fertile, don't forget how many dudes bled out in fields, y'all. Don't forget how many dudes put their blood in the earth too. Don't forget about that. A lot of dudes bled out. So yeah, there's some placenta. You got
I,
it, bro.
I thought we were gonna get a placenta weave. That's kind of funny. Put my own comment up.
Nobody else is gonna say it. I'm gonna say it.
I totally thought you were going for it.
That is a great point. That is a great point. Put those placentas in the family tree, y'all.
That's right. Bury him. Um. Well, cool.
Yeah, buddy.
This was a great experiment. First
Yes.
time going live all by yourself and hitting the right buttons and
Yeah, but
some wrong buttons.
you
Yeah.
did all the heavy lifting, bro. You know you did.
Shoot.
Yeah, buddy.
Shoot. It's
We can
good times.
yeah, let's do this again soon. And it's nice that you helped me work out the bugs. I gotta have Chance on here soon. I can't wait to have my brother Chance up on here.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
man. Yeah, I really want to reciprocate. So, yeah, 2 hours and 13 minutes. Oh, let's go for 216. Let's see if we get to 216 and drop it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Um, so I want to remind everybody, I'm so excited to talk about Big Up at the Slick Dissident channel over on my slickdissident.com. I ordered my first T-shirt. I can't wait to be up here rocking my own T-shirt, my own artistic expressions. You guys will find some of my particular correspondence maps that I've done. I have the territories map uh, embedded onto the map of the America, which the word America is a anagram. I shouldn't give away all the encodes, but I'll give some of them away. The word America is an anagram for chimera, and there is a chimeric character in the outlines of the Mississippi River. And it is, to me, everybody on TikTok, it did the rounds on TikTok. They're like, look at this, looks like a person. And a lot of people were calling it Chef Boyardee because it has a really tall, like a chef's hat. But I took it even further. I was like, no, you guys aren't seeing the wings. Idaho is like the wings of a chimera, of a sentinel. The word sentinel is a phonetic anagram for Atlantis, this hidden sentinel in the lost city of Atlantis is right here in the chimera of America. And what is the Sphinx all about? It's all about riddles. It's all about puzzles. And that's what I do when I play with the anagrams. And sure enough, yeah, some of that art is on some of the t-shirts and some of the offerings over on slickdissident.com. 57 seconds, bro. What do you want to say, PK?
Love it.
Drop some weeds, man.
Gotta check it out. Hey, next time I think I could bring some topics, some more graphics. Man,
Nice.
getting a hang of this was pretty cool, being kind of having the wheels, of the StreamYard.
Yeah, buddy.
So
Gaining more
good
affluence.
times. Yeah, got to do more of it. Let's see, we got 20 seconds.
All right. Big love to the chat, by the way. I paid very little attention to the chat, but I always go back and rewatch everybody's comments. I'm sure I'm going to have my mind blown 50,000 times. Yeah,
Heck
from everybody
yeah. Thanks
contributing.
everyone for coming.
Yeah, big love to Polly. Big love to Sherry. Big love to Howard. Big love to D Zerida's in the house, y'all. Let's see. En passant. Ooh, we got a chess player in the house.
Ooh.
Yeah. Meow. All right, y'all. 216. Here we go. Let's peace out, PK.
All right, y'all.
Big love
Have
and
a good night.
respect. How do I